When we started to do this research with more than 10 scientists, we were looking to water on the standard scientific way. But during all the tests, we found out that water does something completely else than what we have learned. It has an intelligence. And that intelligence is coming from the sun and the moon and from specific rhythms that we find back in nature.
In today's busy world, how can we find the inspiration, knowledge, and energy to live a healthy and empowered life? If we balance and harmonize our mind, exercise our body, live according to the laws of nature, and connect to spirit, can we find a way to heal, become our authentic self, and live our purpose with love? I am your hostess, Amy Fournier, and welcome back to Awakening Aphrodite. You really need to have electrolytes dialed in, guys. Many things like high blood pressure, over-exercising or exercising in extreme heat, drinking too much water or alcohol, low-carb diets, or more than 2 to 3 cups of coffee and stress, and gosh, who's not stressed these days? All of these things can diminish your electrolytes. Did you know that? Paleo Valley Electrolyte is a full spectrum source of electrolytes, minerals, and trace minerals from unprocessed ancient sea salt, organic coconut water, seaweed extract, and seawater. They're all combined for optimal hydration. It harnesses the power of whole food ingredients without added sugars and highly processed synthetic nutrients that you're going to find in other electrolyte powders, even when they say they're healthy. So this is a great product. I love it. Check it out on my website, eStore. Enter the coupon code AmyFournier10 at checkout, and you can save 10%. And let me know what you think. Hey everybody, I'm sure you know how important it is to help your body properly detoxify. My goodness, if we really looked at how many toxins we are exposed to, toxins in the air, toxins inside homes, mold, furnishings, as well as food sources, all these things that our bodies are dealing with, we got to help it out. Energy Bits Algae Tabs are nutrition powerhouses that are great not only for detoxification, but also for energy and for beauty. I love Energy Bits because they have only one ingredient, algae, which is a superfood. They're 100% natural. They're also vegan, super high in antioxidants, high in omega-3 fatty acids, which can help with brain function, moods, reduce inflammation and muscle soreness. And this is great for people who don't like to eat a lot of vegetables. I mean, this is like a superfood. I can't emphasize enough. This is why I have it on my website. You can use my coupon code AmyF at checkout, and you can save a whopping 20%. Please try them. Let me know what you think. I promise you won't be disappointed. The starting point of the new cell biology is the quantum electrodynamic nature of life, based on quantum coherent water created by fluctuations of the ambient electromagnetic field, or the zero-point field of the vacuum, and stabilized on interfaces as liquid crystalline water. That's from Dr. Mei-Wan Hu, The Living Rainbow Water book. Alec Bartholomew, who's an author and a naturalist, says, the most important function of biological water is to facilitate rapid intercommunication between cells and connective tissues so that the organism can function as a coordinated whole. And Gerald Pollack, the person who's famous for discovering easy water, which is known as the fourth phase of water. If you think of the phases of water as liquid, gas, and solid like ice, right? Well, Gerald Pollack, who's a PhD, is found that there's a fourth phase of water, which is known as the crystalline state, which is very, very important. And he says, in your cells are multiple batteries with plus and minus charges separated. The question is, how are these batteries charged? In a nutshell, the water in each of your cells achieves its ordered structure. Listen to that part. It has an ordered structure from energy obtained from your environment, typically in the form of electromagnetic radiation, including sunlight and infrared heat. Welcome back to Awakening Aphrodite with Amy Fournier. Today we are running again one of the most popular episodes of all time on Awakening Aphrodite that has consistently been in the top 5 for years. We are sharing with you a very important episode. And even if you heard it before, you definitely want to check it out again. There's so many things in here. I can't even tell you how many times I've listened to this episode, and I keep picking up one little tip or nugget or something that I didn't remember or even hear the first time. It's so important, everybody. You know you need to drink water, right? Then you take it to the next level because you know it has to be clean, filtered water that doesn't have toxins and impurities and chemicals in it, right? Well, a lot of people are not aware that unfortunately in this day and age, that's actually not even enough. Water has a shape, it has a molecular pattern. If you envision a snowflake, you see that pattern, right? It's called being coherent. It's called having a proper structure. And here's the thing, listen to this. If it doesn't have that structure, it can't do what it's supposed to do. Water is more than just like hydrating your cells. Water carries information. Water has memory. Water has function. Water has instructions for your cells. And it has a lot of other esoteric things that we won't get into, and I'll save that for the show. Do you also know that water is different depending on the phase of the moon? You know, there's 4 phases of the moon. Well, 4 primary phases, I should say. You know, like the waxing, the waning, the full, and the dark. And each one of those phases affects water in a different way, meaning it changes its structure. Farmers have known this for years. There's a time to plant above ground crops and below ground crops, depending on the phase of the moon in order to get more yield. Same goes for us. You know you're mostly water, right? Well, the phases of the moon, so basically the atmosphere, the environment is affecting you. We're not on the earth. We're in the earth. We are the earth. The atmosphere is included in the earth energy. So all this is going on and most of us are not even aware of it. But that's what I'm here for you. I want to share with you so you can be aware of how you're being affected by all these big, big things that, again, you're not really aware of, but are really affecting you. So you can live wisely and try to be coordinated with all these different things so you can have a more enjoyable, easier, healthier, awesome life. How's that sound? Sounds good to me too. So today's show, like I said, we are repurposing episode number 88, the molecular coherence of the fountain of youth, aligning with nature cycles, subtle energies, and the divine forces with Dolf Zantinge and Analemma Water. So listen, here's the deal. I told you need to have your water structured or what's known as being coherent. Think of it as just kind of being in harmony. It'd be like if you're listening to an orchestra and, you know, there's no conductor. So the tuba's playing and the cymbal goes and the drum and the flute and everything's just a complete mess. It's just noise. And you're like, I can't listen to this. It's incoherent. Well, the orchestra brings the coherence, makes everything flow together at the right time, the right pace, the right tempo, and that makes beautiful music. Well, that's what structuring your water does and having coherent water does. And Dolf has an amazing product that I use every single day called the Analemma Wand. We talk about it in this episode, and it's really easy to use. They did all the hard lifting for us. It's basically like a pen that you just put in any body of water or cup of water, glass of water, bottle of water, whatever. Stir it around a few times. I like to go clockwise and counterclockwise, and sometimes I'd make a figure 8, the infinity sign, because that really charges it. And I also say gratitude prayer quickly. Just thank you, water. Thank you so much for everything that you're doing to support my life and helping me be healthy and fit and whatever it is, my prayer of the day. Just kind of give it a nod. And that's all you have to do, and that will structure your water for you. I know it sounds crazy, but they have research and science that backs this up. And this company is exploding because it works. I felt a difference right away. I talk about that on this episode. And here's the other thing. They just came out with a brand new product, the Analemma Home Structuring Unit. This is not a filter. Remember, this does not filter your water. You need to filter your water. If you're looking for a filter, I have one that I use on my website, amyfournier.com. Go to recommended products, and there's a water filter there. It's not very expensive, but it works great. And that's what I use right now to filter my water. But I just bought the Analemma water structural system for the whole house. And it's pretty simple. Just have a plumber hook it up to the main pipeline, and that structures all the water coming into your house. Score! I actually haven't hooked it up yet, but I have an appointment with a plumber to hook it up for me. So by the time you're listening to this, it'll probably be good to go. So you can enter my coupon code, by the way, to save a little money. We all like that. Fit Amy TV, you'll save 10%, and that adds up, okay? Fit Amy TV. If you forget, it's on my website, eStore, under recommended products. So you're going to love this episode. Water is intelligent. Water has memory. It provides instruction. It's essential for proper mind, body, spirit function. And did you know that even a deficiency in water is linked to high blood pressure? Now listen if any of these apply to you, or maybe someone you know. Someone with high blood pressure, someone who's constipated, someone who has bad skin, maybe brain fog, headaches. Headaches is a big one. Big one. Joint problems and arthritis, because the synovial fluid is obviously mostly water. So it'd be great if you just try to hydrate yourself more rather than turn to pills or over-the-counter medications. But here's the thing, too. Are you somebody who pees a lot? And someone might say that, right? Well, I don't want to pee all the time. Well, your water's probably not properly structured. Because remember, your body can't recognize it if it's not in the proper form. And it can't do what it's supposed to do. So you probably hear me say all the time, people don't know how good they can look and feel until they do. Because feeling crappy, it becomes the new norm. And that's really sad. So it's a big part of what drives me on bringing this show to you. So if you're interested in water, you might also want to check out episode 204, The Metaphysical Nature of Water as an Expression of the Divine Feminine, with the amazing Queen of Water, Isabel Friend. That's episode 204. I promise you in that one, you are going to hear stuff about water that you never heard before. I mean, because water is the ultimate divine feminine essence. So you might want to get on board with her. So let's join now Dolf Zantinge for a second time, or maybe the first time. And if you like the show, please let me know. I love hearing what you think. You can hit me up on Instagram at FitAmyTV. Check out all my favorite products on my website, eStore. And you might want to hop on my email list too if you're interested in the work I do, because I've got an online course that's under development right now, and that's coming out soon. We're going to have interactive monthly groups. We're going to have in-person meetings. And did you know that my women's circle is starting up again in the beginning of 2024? That's right. We're going to start on Zoom. So it's going to be a monthly online meeting. So anywhere in the world, you can join us and we can work together, and I can share with you a lot of the women's mystery work that I've learned over the years. So jump on my email list for that. And also, if you're interested in knowing what my course is going to be about and partaking in that, you'll be notified when it comes out, which will be early spring 2024, if not earlier. Depends how busy I get. You know how that is. Anyway, let's now join Dolf Zantinge. Welcome back to Awakening Aphrodite with Amy Fournier. Today, my guest is Dolf Zantinge. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Amy. Glad to be here.
Thrilled to have you here. Tell us where you're located, please.
Well, at this moment, I'm located nearby Amsterdam. That is the capital city of the Netherlands. So Western Europe at the moment, Amy.
Okay, and we can detect your accent there. We can detect that. And is that where you grew up?
I grew up in Amsterdam, but I worked many years in the US as well, especially in Bay Area.
Mm-hmm. You know, I've been to Amsterdam.
And did you like
Absolutely beautiful. Great chocolate. Of course, that was, good Lord, when was that? That has to be at least 2 or 3 decades ago. I'm sure very different now.
Well, you're still welcome, Amy.
All right. Well, that would be amazing. Oh my gosh. As we were just chatting before we started the recording, I just have been like a kid in a candy store learning so much from you and your partner Eric and your team, and just the incredibly important, amazing work you're doing. I'm so aligned with it. When you said that you'd agree to come on my show, like I said, I'm like a kid in a candy store. I'm trying to like sit on my hands to keep myself, because I'm just thrilled for you to share with my audience what you guys are discovering and how important it is. So I'm just going to turn it to you, and if you want to give a little synopsis of basically what your work is, what you're discovering.
Well, thank you, Amy. I will do that. Around 14 years ago, a group of scientists came together, and we were wondering what's happening in the world, because we saw a lot of chronic diseases coming up, allergies, a lot of new diseases, and a lot of people were getting more and more depressed. So we were wondering, where's it coming from? Because everybody is investing a lot of money in health, etc., etc. Well, one of the things we did is that we did multiple tests together, and we found out what is happening in more than one area, because we also looked at animals, and we also looked to the aquaculture. So we did a lot of tests, and finally, after 1 or 2 years, we found out that one of the major elements that is constantly coming back in all those tests we did is water. And we thought, well, everybody knows what water is. So we went to a lot of scientists all over the world, and we asked them, can you explain us what is the role of water? And surprise, surprise, nobody had the answer. And we were really shocked upon that. Because if you go to the real water scientists all over the world, you find out that a lot of them haven't got a clue what water is. So what we did is that we set up a laboratory, and we took over the laboratory of a famous professor in Germany, Professor Popp, who is working in the biophotons. So then you can measure the light effects into biological systems. And then we found out that we had to learn a lot of lessons with water, and finally we could measure all the effects. But not only that, we were also able to change the water in such a structure that suddenly it had a much more positive effect upon all the items that we just mentioned.
Mm-hmm. Basically a ripple effect. Excuse the pun. Yeah. on all things. Yes. Okay. So you're going to explain to us how water actually has shape, because people don't think it is that. And that's one of the beautiful things about water is we know it can be hard like ice, but it morphs, it flows. One of the beautiful elements and aspects of water is it can be hard and soft. It's truly amazing. But more than that, the internal invisible shape of the water molecule is what we're talking about with your discoveries. And can you please educate us on that? Like, what are we talking about here? How does water have shape, and why is that important?
Well, that is something we had to find out ourselves. First of all, let me explain a little bit upon why a lot of scientists couldn't give us the right answer upon what water is. Mm-hmm. One of the best examples is when water is frozen, normally then material gets heavier, but in the case of water, it is going to be on top of the water that is not frozen. So it doesn't sink, it doesn't go to the bottom, and you can even stand on it. Nobody understands it. There's only one material in the world that does this, and that is water. On top of that, when you have a certain degrees, then it vaporizes. So water has multiple phases. But one of the most incredible things we found out is that water can create coherent fields. Now, I don't want to make it too technical, but what is a coherent field? That is that the atomic structure of the H2O molecules are linked together, and they create a kind of crystalline form, a bundle of them. And in that crystalline form, it can absorb information that is coming from outside. And it can transport that information and bring it to a biological system. And then suddenly you come to the question, what is the best form? And how is it possible that water can make these forms? And then you really come to the miracle of water. So one of the very, very important items that we also found is that these crystalline forms, they can change. And they can change in the flash of a second as well. But not every water in the world has that ability anymore. And that was for us very crucial. We found out that the water, one of the elements like the air and the soil and the fire, it's all working together, but it has a certain information system in it. And that made water so mystical.
I love it. I love everything about it because I'm just fascinated with the holistic nature of the elements. And maybe we can just table that or put a little bookmark right there and just back up even a little bit more. And can you perhaps explain to us a little Earth Element 101? Like, what is this relationship that we're not aware of that is a reciprocal with the sun and the moon and the earth and water and fire and air and all the elements that ancient cultures knew and understood and lived according to with respect and reverence and harmony, even without knowing how they worked, and they certainly had a lot more harmonious lives back then that we're not aware of in our fancy modern technology. We're not aware of how the moon and the sun and the stars and, to your point, water, how it's all in a relationship and thereby how it's affecting us. So can you perhaps, I know that's a big topic, but maybe just give us a little synopsis of, yes, this is the holistic nature of these elements.
Sure. First of all, Amy, when we started to do this research with more than 10 scientists, and some of them were trained in biology or in mathematics. All of them had a different discipline. So we were looking to water on the standard scientific way. But during all the tests, we found out that water does something completely else than what we have learned. And then suddenly something came in, and it was so beautiful, so immense, but so big that we could hardly imagine that this is taking place in water. And then we found out that all the existing elements, as I just mentioned to you, like the earth and the air, that it has a kind of transformation system. It has an intelligence. And that intelligence is coming from the sun and the moon and from specific rhythms that we find back in nature. And suddenly, I give you one example of that. We were working with biophotons, and biophotons is extremely, extremely sensitive light forms that you can measure into biological systems.
Light forms.
Right? Yeah, it's light, yes. Mm-hmm. And to tell you how sensitive it is, we could measure a candlelight on 20-mile difference. And the light form became data for us. So that is how sensitive we started to measure all those things. And when we gave water to the seeds or to plants, we saw a rhythm coming back. And we hadn't got a clue where is this rhythm coming from. But comparing it with other data, we found out that it was the rhythm of the moon.
And when you say you saw a rhythm, what do you mean?
We saw that there was a high explosion of light.
The light had an undulation?
Yes, and when you had new moon and full moon, we saw a completely different rhythm. And it was amazing that in your laboratory, you can find in seeds and in plants with light waves. So we measured the waves, and we saw per second the increase of the moon and the sun. And then suddenly we saw it coming back in the soil as well. And then we started to see that there was a whole light center in the soil as well. When you have put the right water on the soil, and suddenly the whole soil was giving light. And this was for us amazing. So we changed from the hardcore scientist to a scientist with a completely open mind, and we started to look to the rhythm that we found back in nature. And then we saw that that rhythm is information. It absorbs it and it works with it, and it is really male and female energy constantly coming together. And then we found out that what we do at this moment of time on this planet is completely wrong. Completely wrong.
Shocker. Yeah. Well, obviously it's not working too well for us. Unfortunately. Okay. Wow. So, wow, there's just so much in what you just said. So this rhythm, so that means the water will be different when the moon is full, when the moon is dark, when the moon's in the different phases. The actual molecular structure, the shape of the water molecules are different according to the moon cycles.
Yes.
Okay. And the purpose of that, like, why would nature do that? Why wouldn't it just be the same? Or, what's that all about, do you think?
Water, not only water, but nature itself needs a cycle.
Okay.
It must receive energy, absorb it, and do something with this energy and create something out of it. So it's a whole cycle. And that is why you see the same cycle coming back in the moon. Take, for instance, the sun. We have the winter, we have the spring, we have the summer. And in the summertime, you have the harvest of the vegetables, and then you have autumn again. And each cycle is playing a major role in this. And the element that is constantly working with all those cycles and can absorb all this information is water. By the way, Amy, be aware of the fact that 99% of the molecules in your body are water molecules.
And that's a misconception, because it's popular now that everyone's saying, well, 2/3 of your body, 70% of, your muscles and all that. It's actually higher than that, is what you're saying, because there's a difference between mass and molecules, right?
2/3 is your weight of the water.
Mm-hmm.
So only 1% of your molecules are molecules that are much heavier than the water molecules. But 99%, can you imagine?
No, you really can't.
Do you
It's
know
hard
that a cucumber has 98%?
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we are water, and water is a communication system. Mm-hmm. In every cell in your body, there is water. And there is no biological change in your body without water.
Right.
So that is why these atomic structures are so important, because the atomic structure of the water molecules, so the crystalline form, they are the ones that can transport that information that is coming from outside. And if that is blocked, then the transport system doesn't work 100% anymore. And then you can create all kinds of diseases.
And you guys refer to that as chaos.
And we call that as chaotic systems.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Right. So water is the carrier. It's the vehicle by which the information gets brought into the body and sent to the different cells of the body for them to carry out their various functions, or not. Because if the information is chaotic and not structured properly, the cells aren't going to be able to do their jobs, which will result in low energy, diseases, whatever, name it, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So that is why we also start to see that water has a kind of memory. And what do we mean with this memory? We mean that it has the ability to create a kind of what we call coherent form that can absorb that energy coming from outside and can bring it in the right order to the cell.
And the
So
reason, go ahead.
No. So water is incredible intelligent.
Mm-hmm. That was one of my questions about water being intelligent. Like, what is the original source of the coherency? You know, like, how is it? Like, who's running the show? You know, like.
Well, we start to believe, and there are some of the tests that we've done, that there is a fifth element, the ether element.
Aha.
And that ether element, that probably is running the show.
And how would you define ether? What is that?
It's the fifth element. It is the element that absorbs more or less all the knowledge of all the existing other elements. And sometimes in the world of physics, we call it sometimes the 0 point.
Aha. Yes, I've heard of that. Okay. So that is the...
Yeah, or the vacuum field. You know, it has multiple wordings, but in one way or another, that intelligence is coming from outside. And it changes in a flash of a second. But only the right water has that ability to change and absorb the right information.
Yes.
And that is why we started to find out what is the right water.
Otherwise, it's not receptive to pick it up.
Yeah, correct.
Like literally not on the same wavelength, like can't hear it, you know, like, okay.
Yeah, because water is a broadband absorber of all the electromagnetic fields. And what is an electromagnetic field? Well, one very good example, and everybody knows that field, that is the sun. That is an electromagnetic field, and the moon as well. So all those waveforms coming from outside are absorbed by the water. The water transports it and know exactly what to do with it. And then it comes back and then it absorbs again. So it must have the ability to absorb it and to bring it and to create something out of it.
So when we say water is intelligent, it's more that it's carrying the intelligence, right? It's not intelligent innately within itself. Is that?
No, that is correct what you say.
Okay. So,
So it is coming from outside, but the water itself must have the ability to absorb it in the right order. And that is what we call coherent water.
Coherence.
And it all works together. So for us, it was really important to find out what is coherent water and how can you make it? And can you keep it in a coherent state? Because everybody in the world of marketing calls it and is talking about coherent water. But we tested hundreds of water from all over the world, from the Himalayas to the Rocky Mountains to Greenland, Japan, you name it, we did it. And we tested all those water. And then we put in electromagnetic waves that are more or less harmful. And we tested, can the water then still recover? And can it then later on still carry the correct information? That is how we tested all those waters.
And what happened?
99% of the waters collapsed.
Because they were exposed to artificial, human-made electromagnetic fields. Hence, your phone, your computer, all the satellites up in the sky that are beaming and giving you a great Netflix program. You know, they're all affecting us, our body, 99% molecules of water, not to mention all the living creatures on the earth, in an adverse, detrimental way.
Absolutely. Because what I just told you, water absorbs electromagnetic fields. So it absorbs every field. But there is a certain intelligence with coherent water that knows that that electromagnetic field doesn't create the right structure. So it has the ability to push it back and only absorbs the right energy. So this was really amazing that we were able to do that.
That's huge. And I was going to ask you about that because what is the nature by which it works? Is it a resonance? Is it a fractal relationship? You know, it recognizes the original source and then gets in harmony with it. Like, what's the medium? How is it restructuring?
It is still a mystery, but what we found is that yes, it has a kind of a relationship with a fractal relationship with the vacuum field. And when it is brought back in connection with that field, then it can do its work. So a lot of the waters in the world now are put under pressure, and that is what we call chaos. That is what we call within our team chaotic structures. So it can still do its work. But to give you one example, what I just told you, the moon cycle, we notice, for instance, that even water from a good well could hardly transport 50% of the information that we receive from the moon compared with our coherent water.
And why is that?
Well, in one way or another, the waters in the world are not coherent anymore, although they look fantastic.
Yeah, because of the satellites and everything, they're these invisible.
Yeah, and not only that, especially also in the area of agriculture, we have used more than 20, 30 years all kinds of toxins.
Yes.
And those toxins had a huge impact upon the groundwater as well. And then we put it in the oceans, and then you get rain, and the rain is also polluted. We have the acid rain. We were familiar with that. So all those waters, they create the snow again. So you get the wrong cycle. So we had to find out, how do you bring back the cycle in a normal way? And a lot of people haven't got a clue. So what is then the effect? Well, we have seen the effects. That doesn't mean that water suddenly becomes like a medicine. No, water in itself has so much power. So for instance, we did a test on glycanage, and that are certain parts into the body that are related to age and aging. And we found out that when people started to drink this water for only 2-3 months, some people went back in aging between 2 and 12 years.
It's just incredible.
So the cells were really becoming much more powerful. They had much more resistance. We saw it with animals and especially in plants. As a matter of fact, our latest test that came out a month ago, we even could show now that the DNA of polluted soil that was polluted for more than 12 years with toxins, and the DNA was harmed. And we compared it with rainwater, and then we made the rainwater coherent again, that the DNA improved with 60%. So it also protects a part of your DNA structure.
Right. And so back to your point about how modern belief systems and science has no clue about any of this. When you guys went to the experts, they were like, oh, it's hydrogen and oxygen, but they couldn't really even, when you say they couldn't tell you what water is, what do you mean? Like its effect, how the operating system?
Well, most people in the world of science think that water is only H2O, and that's it.
Yep.
And you can demineralize it, then they use it in a laboratory, but then it is completely dead water. Nobody looked to the energy in water,
the energy,
and what life really means. And we've seen the same back in the soil, in the earth. It also communicates. So what we found out, and that is what you mentioned at the beginning, that certain people in the past knew exactly how all those elements work together. And that is what we saw also in our laboratory.
Well, are you familiar with moon gardening? And you must be, moon calendars and...
Rudolf Steiner was one of the men who more than 100 years ago already described it in his books. And we tested it, and we found out that he was 100% right.
Yeah, I mean, there's a time to fish. Like, I think it's don't fish in the full moon. You'll get, so...
And it has everything to do with the electromagnetic fields, and they work on a very subtle level, on an extremely subtle level. Those levels, they create life.
And then the relationship with the water and the light, because again, it's my understanding in researching your work that the water is actually carrying out the instruction from the photons, the biophotons, the light. So the light spectrum, whether it be high noon sun, infrared, ultraviolet, all that is going to affect the water. So therefore, when you drink a certain source of water, wherever the sun is and the moon is at the time, is going to give you a different effect, which then brings you into harmony and resonance with all of life, because life sets it up that way that there's different frequencies and structures. So there can be the change that needs to happen. If it was always the same, you wouldn't get any evolution, right? It would just be the same. You'd get stuck, and that would be that. So it set it up this way that there was an ebb and a flow and a cycle to it in order to keep life moving forward. Do I have that right?
Absolutely.
All
Absolutely.
right. Yay for me. Yeah, I just try to, in my brain, like just kind of always think holistically, okay, well, how is this working? And then I can't help but ask why. Like I mentioned, like why would life, create this change? Why would the water be different at dark moon than full moon? Okay, and all right, so can we now go a little bit back to your very important point that water has a gender? Like this was like, wait a minute, everybody hold the phone. What did I just learn? Water has a gender? I've never heard anyone say that before. Please tell us exactly what you guys mean by that.
Well, let me say it then in a different way. But what water does is that if you have a waveform, then the wave goes up and it goes down, because you need the upcoming and down. And what we see is that a lot of the waters in the world do not make the wave 100% anymore.
The peaks and the valleys.
The peaks, yes, the peaks up and down are out of balance. And one of the peaks is receiving information, but the other peak, we found out, must give the information and receive it and do something with it. And it was really like a yin and a yang. And that is what you can say, the male and the female energy.
I know which one's out of balance then.
Well, unfortunately, we males are exaggerating a little bit in this world at the moment. So we are really lacking the female energy.
Although, based on what you're saying, the water is receiving these negative artificial frequencies and electricity, which is screwing it up. So that's the feminine, right?
Yes and no, because what we see is that also the male energy is not correct. It starts with the male energy that is not correct. And then the other energy doesn't know what to do with it. And it doesn't know how to create in the right order. So, and what we also saw is that when a part of let's call it female energy, it's the energy that really absorbs it and creates something out of it, that when that is out of harmony, then you can see that coming back into the harvest. You can measure that in the light. When you measure the light later on, you see that there is an imbalance in the vegetables. Or you simply miss certain light forms. What we saw is that the balance must be completely 100%.
Okay, so 50-50.
Yes.
Masculine, feminine, in order for it to have the optimal, harmonious expression.
Yes, and we saw that same energy has the same impact into the soil in Mother Earth.
And hence, it makes plants that are either feminine or masculine, right?
Well, you have plants who are feminine and masculine. As a matter of fact,
That's crazy. I never heard that before.
Oh yeah, you can see it back in the flowers. As a matter of fact, we were able to bring back cucumbers who were completely artificial in a normal male-female situation. after 4 years of testing. So what we saw in this whole research is that first of all, due to the pollution, the energy that comes in is not correct, and due to the fact that water is destroyed more or less, it cannot create in the right order anymore. But that is, especially for women, that was isn't that important, because they work completely with the moon cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw that certain waters do not respond with the moon cycle anymore.
And we wonder why our cycles are all screwed up.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So the effect is, you can see the effect in multiple areas.
Oh, yes. Oh, God, the ramifications of that. We could just list them pages and pages. Okay, but back to the gender of plants. I just have a visual because, in human beings, we have a physical difference of masculine and feminine, or even animals, like mammals. Oh, is it a boy or girl dog? And, you look at a certain area of the body. Are plants like that? Do they physically look different when they're masculine?
No. What you see is that in the plant you have, in the plant itself, you have a female and a male part. Yes.
Part. Okay.
Part of it. You cannot say that it's a male plant or female plant. You cannot say that.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a part in a plant whereby you can see that coming back, and especially in certain vegetables, you can find that completely coming back.
So part of the molecule is actually different, is what you're saying?
No. You can see it is really in the plant itself.
Really?
In the flower of the plant.
Okay.
Yeah.
The sex organs are the flowers. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that is where you could see it coming back. What we did is that when you give it the right water, we saw that the plant became much stronger, not bigger. A lot of people think that, immediately it must become bigger. That's not the case. Mm-hmm. But it became much more powerful. It was much more resistant against all kinds of diseases.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And it had much more light. When we started to measure the light again, it had much more light, sometimes 200-300% more.
And the reason why the light is significant is because that's basically, we're talking energy or potential energy capacity.
Yep. And the light is also a way of how the body communicates.
Tell us more about that. How's that?
Well, if you have a healthy body,
mm-hmm.
you can create much more light energy around you. Yes. And you can see that on certain paintings, when you go to
mm-hmm.
you see the paintings. Mm-hmm.
But
that light is playing a major role. The colors are playing a major role in that. They show how it is in balance.
So you have more of a range too, because I just got a visual of the color light spectrum. Of if everybody just visualizes a rainbow, the spectrum, right? I mean, you have more access to that full spectrum. So more tools in your toolbox, so to speak, to do whatever is appropriate at the time, because you have more to choose from. Safe to say?
Absolutely. I mean, this is very important because a lot of people now in agriculture, they use LED light.
Yes.
Then you only use a particular area of the light, while the sun is beaming the full range.
The full spectrum. Mm-hmm.
And we are built as human bodies to receive full spectrum.
Right on. And to your point about man-made electricity and computers and technology and Bluetooth and 5G, that's only the blue light that everyone now is finally getting information about, that's so damaging because it's a limited part of the spectrum. It's not the full spectrum.
Absolutely.
Which is a problem.
When you beam a certain color into water for more than, let's say, 10, 50 minutes,
mm-hmm.
and you measure it later on, you see that it is different. It has a different effect. While your body is built to receive the 7 colors, not only that, also the ultraviolet, and it is also working with the infrared. So in all these waveforms, water responds in a different way.
Right on. And there's your light therapy, phototherapy, back in... Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. So to your point that, light, information, food, water, these are all instructions and information that the universe uses for our lives that we don't realize. And people kind of, I think, know, okay, food, Well, they might not realize that food is information. I say it all the time. Food is instructions on telling your body what to do or not do. But now, thanks to your work, we're realizing that light is information, instructions or not. You're going to feel different when you see red, literally, as they say, or that you see blue. Restaurants know that. They put usually blue light, blue walls and stuff in, and green is more harmonious and loving, and so there is a little bit about it. But wow, water, no one ever, people, and then maybe if you want to comment on that and then get into how your Analemma water is different, because it's not talking about filtering the water. So a lot of people at least know that filtering is important, but we're talking about apples and oranges here.
Yes, let me explain that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people use a filter, but what they do take out are the chemicals
Mm-hmm.
that are brought in. And the chemicals have an effect upon the atomic structure, upon how the crystalline form is made. That's true. So you have to take out all the chemicals, that's for sure. But then it is still, for a great part, chaotic. Then it still doesn't mean that it can absorb the right information that is coming from outside.
Doesn't have the right energy imprint, even if you remove the toxins.
That's it. And what we did is we found out a way, a technical way, but very, very simple, that everybody can do that, to make the water coherent again in just a few seconds. And what we did, because a lot of people claim all kinds of things, so we have made it coherent again. And then sometimes we wait 3, 4, 5 weeks before we do a test with that water that we have changed. And then we start to do the research. So some of our waters were multiple months old. And then we did the research. Most waters that have a certain coherent state, they lose that state in just a few seconds or a few minutes already.
What do you mean most waters? Other
Well, there
filters?
are some products like crystals or.
Oh yes, okay.
But if you take them out and if you bring the water under pressure again, then it is losing immediately this coherent state.
Which is going to happen. I mean, you if you use your crystal whenever to get coherent water, and then all of a sudden you pick up your phone, or you step outside and get radiated by 5G, what you're saying is it's not going to hold it. It's not going to retain the coherency, the structure.
Yeah, and what we have seen is that our water has the ability to come back to its original structure again.
And keep it, though.
And keep it.
Do you know how long? Like, let's say I make. We're
Well,
going to talk about.
We've seen now that it keeps it for years.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, when you put that water again in the sun for just a few minutes, then it even becomes stronger.
Mm-hmm. As long as it's not in plastic.
That's for sure. Plastic doesn't work. That is why what we did is that we used a different material. Plastic doesn't work. But this is the case. Yes, we use quartz. Quartz has the ability. So what we did is that we made that water coherent again. We put it into quartz glass, and when you put that quartz glass into a glass of water, then within 15 to 20 seconds, the whole glass is coherent again.
Mm-hmm. All right. So maybe this is a good time for you to share with people the result of 14 years of your intensive laborious work in your laboratory, testing waters and finding how to cultivate the original coherent source of water to put it in a personalized product that we can now bring into our lives so each of us can get coherent water in our lives. You've developed an actual beautiful product.
Yes, what we did is that we wanted to bring this product as soon as possible to the world. But the last 4 years, we wanted to show only the world the real results that came out of other laboratories than our own laboratory. So all the tests that we did over the last 4 years were done all over the world with outside laboratories. And to give you some examples, I told you already about the glycinate study that has to do with aging. Aging went down we could get rid out of certain diseases into the soil by only giving it water. We had an improvement in vegetables every year in light with 20%. Seeds that were getting this water were much more resistant, gave better fruits the year after year. We saw that certain animals responded fantastic. They became more calm. We have seen that the brain waves between the left and the right brain wave became in balance again. So every time when we did all those tests, we were confirmed that we are lacking the right water, because this is no medicine, this is water as it should be.
Wow. Hence, not the need for medicine.
No,
Wow.
one of the things we also found out is that this water had an impact upon the ATP. A lot of people haven't got a clue what it means, but ATP, that is the energy into your body.
Like the mitochondria, the cell engine.
Yes, yes. And we could see on more than 60 types of vegetables we tested over the last 4 years, all of them had an increase of ATP between 20 to 40%.
Wow. You can't get that normally, 20 to 40%.
And we did multiple tests in multiple areas, and we asked all kinds of laboratories to do those tests. And we are going to do a lot of tests also in the US in the coming years.
And the piece that you haven't yet mentioned of the long list of benefits is the increase in consciousness. Tell us about that. That's the big kahuna right there. You're saving that for last, because you've said is coherence equals consciousness. Whoa, wait a minute. What do you mean?
Okay, well, you can imagine, Amy, that when your left or your right brain are more in balance, and when you get a certain state of harmony into your body, that it has an effect upon your complete energy layer. If your energy increases, and if your brains are getting more in balance, then it definitely is waking up a certain state into your body that has to do with your consciousness. And that is what we see all over the world.
Back to the receptivity thing. Like, I've heard you've said that people can use the analogy of a radio. You know, it's like if you're receiving the signal by tuning the dial. So our bodies are the vehicle, we're the dial, and we're fine tuning with the things that are giving us information on how to run. Like we're saying, light, water, sound is one we haven't mentioned, food. These are all going to tune our radio, so the radio will be more receptive to these harmonious frequencies by what we ingest and expose ourselves to, like our structured, coherent water.
Amy, we are losing in this world the connection to the subtle energies. Completely.
Right on.
And for that reason, it's very important that we bring that back and to support more and more our intuition. And to do that, we need to be more in balance. We need that male-female energy completely in balance. And in this moment of time, it is out of balance.
Can you speak more about what you regard as the subtle energies? It's so important. You mentioned intuition for sure.
Well, take for instance the subtle energy of the planet Earth itself. Planet Earth is working with hertz, you know, the waveforms, and those energies have an impact upon our life, on everything that is growing into the soil. Certain energies that are coming from the cycles of the sun and the moon, they play a role. Some people say the moonsake, but it means that you are receptive for those energy layers, but you can't do anything with it because you have an unbalance into your body. But normally your whole body, your whole hormone system is also working with those cycles again. People are much more depressed in wintertime than in summertime. Why? It has to do with the sun. You have to be receptive again. So all those subtle energies, they work on your consciousness, on your well-being, everything. So it creates a certain balance again.
Mm-hmm. So glad you said that. So we've lost our ability to even access some of our higher consciousness because we're basically chaotic in our molecule structure back to the water source.
Yes.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And it's also interesting that some of the toxins put deliberately in our water that people considered filtered and tap water and all this stuff has chlorine, fluoride, which is shown in studies to disrupt the pineal gland, which is basically an antenna for intuition. Coincidence, you think? I think not. There might be some people not wanting other people to be intuitive and tapped in, unfortunately.
Well, don't forget, your whole spine is one big antenna.
Aha.
And it ends up in the middle of your brain, what you just call the pineal gland.
Mm-hmm.
And by many people, that is almost completely destroyed.
Right.
Due to all the things we are doing at the moment.
Mm-hmm. And then that's when you get to look to everyone else for answers because you don't have any sense of internal compass.
Yes, and your hormone system is getting out of balance, and then you eat the wrong food. You eat food that has also toxins in it, or you eat completely food that is out of balance.
Or dead, devitalized food. It's just,
and it looks good. It looks it's nothing. It has no light in it. We measure tomatoes and they look from outside fantastic. And then we compared it with tomatoes that got for 3 years our water. And there was a difference of 800% in light.
In light, as well as nutrition, I'm sure. Same thing, probably.
That is the problem. They measure nutrition, they measure the potassium, the iron, the copper, all that stuff. So they say it's the same tomato. That's not true. The structure is different. The light is different.
Wow.
There is completely different energy in it, but that is what they don't show.
Aha. So I stand corrected. What you're saying is it can show nutritionally even similarities, but they're not even measuring the energetic faculties.
Because they say that has no value.
You're going to revolutionize all of science.
Well, I think science needs a wake-up call.
Apparently it needs it. Unbelievable. And I'll just add to, I've never heard the spine is an antenna. Now, I know the body is, and that's basically what yoga is all about, putting your body into different postures because shape carries information. And that's my training in biogeometry. I'm an advanced level biogeometry person. And that's probably why I'm just so thrilled to talk to you and your work, because I've learned that shape carries information. It matters. All these shapes are, again, like sound and light, they're all relative. So I didn't realize the actual spine itself was an antenna. Amazing.
Oh yeah, your whole nerve center is going through the spine. And it has a huge effect. This is your major antenna. If you want to go up, you need a very, very good spine.
So your receptivity and ability to utilize those energies would depend, is posture dependent? I mean, can we extrapolate that or no?
Oh yeah, you can. You need certain exercises.
Okay.
And also certain colors on the spine have a different effect as well.
For sure. Oh, wow. That's fascinating. Wow. Yes, it sure is. Oh, like I said in the beginning, you're definitely going to have to come back with all the stuff you know, and please write a book or something unbelievable. All right. Now, let's get to the wand. Okay, so you were leading up to, you guys have harnessed this, you've created a product. So please tell us what this beautiful wand is.
We made a product that is quite handy. And you are showing it now, and everybody can carry it with them, and it's very easy to put it in a bag. And what we did is that this wand, the water that is into this, what you called, here's the wand, that, yes, that is how we do it. There is water into the wand, and to make this water takes you a year. So that is what we call the mother water. And due to the fact that it is connected to the quartz, and then quartz has the ability to copy that information from inside to the outside water. That is one of the miracles that is known in science, that is known outside, but it is also used in many laboratories. But only pure quartz has that ability. So this is a handmade product that you have now in front of you. Mm-hmm. Into the wand, you find pure coherent water. And what I just told you, to make that water takes a year. That is put in the wand, and when you are using the wand and you put it into a glass of water, and then after 15 to 20 seconds, the whole glass is coherent.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what you've done is your team for 14 years have figured out a way to properly structure the water. So what you call coherent, meaning it's got the proper shape information, it's totally in harmony, it's full of light, biophotons, it's supercharged, powerful, in alignment with consciousness, ether, all that is, original source. And you guys have figured out a way to put it in this handy little device, which I'm showing for those watching, and I know most people listen. So do go to my YouTube channel, Awakening Aphrodite Fit Amy TV. You'll see it, or better yet, you're going to go to their website. You can see it too. But it looks like a little bit of a pen, or we like to call it the wand because it does yield magic. And it's got water in it. The water inside this little cylinder is the properly coherent structured water, which you guys made. And you've packaged it in glass and quartz so it can hold it and transcribe it. And then all you have to do is put it in your home water source, swirl it around 10 to 30 seconds, and you've got coherent water. Do I have that right?
Absolutely.
Brilliant.
And I even do it, but much longer when I go to my bath.
Right. I was going to ask you about that. So this is great, super helpful for drinking water and cooking, and I give it to my dog, I give it to my plants, all my water, and now is structured water as much as possible. What about showering and bathing? Because our skin, I know you know, but just a reminder for our folks listening and watching, your skin is one big organ, it's one big sponge, so any water that touches your body is going to be absorbed into all your cells and the molecules. So what about filtration for that?
Well, we are working on that, but what you can do now...
Oh, good. Get on it. Good.
But what you can do now is that we use a big glass, and then at the end, when you have taken your shower, you put that glass with that water, when it is made coherent, all also over your body.
A final rinse. It's like your hair, a final rinse.
That's it, Amy.
Brilliant. See, we should be partners. That's fantastic. I couldn't wait to ask you that question. Okay, so the way my mind thinks of it, please correct me, Dolf. It's like the structured coherent water that's in this wand, which you guys sell, thank goodness, is the conductor of an orchestra, right? It's like all the other water molecules are like you get the cello and the drum and the bass and the harp and all these different instruments, but the wand is like the master conductor, which is going to structure them and make it sound in harmony. Otherwise, you're just going to have noise, which you guys called chaos, right, without the conductor.
If you want to have the right Beethoven, use this one.
There you go. Okay, so this is kind of like programming all the rest of your water to get in coherence, going to give you energy, help fight premature aging, synchronize right and left brain hemisphere, and obviously it can be used for your plants, your animals, everything as much as possible to get everything in coherence. Beautiful.
Absolutely. Well, Amy, it is really a pity that we are blocking a lot of our information systems. Our body is such a beautiful factory. and we don't use it in the right order. So I hope with this wand we can create a complete new system into your body that is much more receptive.
Tell us about some of the feedback you're getting, because I know I felt different drinking it. Now, maybe you have to be tapped into the subtle energies, like you said. Maybe it's a catch-22. In order to feel it, you got to be more tapped in. But I know you're getting a lot of good feedback. People can tell the difference, right?
We get hundreds of feedback, really hundreds. And it depends from person to person, also what you have eaten and your age, etc., etc.
Yeah.
But until now, what we heard from most of the people is they feel, and they can even, at a certain time, they can even taste the difference.
Yes.
And the difference can also change per moon cycle. They become so sensitive that some people even change it. And some tests were done by people who could really, they had multiple glasses of water and they could constantly say, this water is the best. We've seen the same test with animals.
It's like the Pepsi challenge. Between Coke and Pepsi, can you blindfold them. Can you tell the difference?
Yeah, but this time we did it with water.
The Coherence challenge.
Coherence challenge, yes. But a lot of people feel that they sleep better, they feel more comfortable, they have more rest, they become more receptive, they want to walk in nature again.
Wow.
All those things, we hear so many things.
Okay, so now I had just a couple more quick questions. How is it, Dolf, that this is a one-way mechanism? Because how is it that when you put this in a normal glass of water, even my wonderfully expensively filtered water, that the water in the glass, the non-structured, doesn't go and affect the water in the wand? How is it that it's only a one-way?
Because that has to do with that intelligence into the water. In one way or another, the water into the wand seems to communicate constantly with a specific field. Call it a quantum field or the 0 point, whatever, but it does it constantly. And water seems to be coherent. So water loves to be coherent, and it takes over the energy from the coherent state. In one way or another, water knows that it is out of balance and it wants to immediately come back to its most original state.
I love it. That's exactly what I was expecting, because I was thinking, it's like I always tell people, your body wants to be healthy. It's doing everything possible to get you into balance, health, harmony, strength, etc. We just have to understand it and respect its attempts. Like when you get symptoms that we think are adverse, it's not like, oh, your body's betraying you or something, it's your body's trying to correct itself.
That's it.
So
Like
same.
The body wants to move. The body loves to move. All those things. The body loves to have good food.
And it makes sense for evolution. Life wants to continue, right? It's in its best interest to be vivacious and functioning properly, so life can go on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Logical. Okay, now what about this cute little wand, which is the size of basically a large pen, can fit in your purse, pocket, whatever. I travel with mine, everything. Is the size of the container that you're, let's just say, correcting by restructuring, you put the wand in, does that matter? So there's a difference between me putting in a glass of water that holds what, maybe 6 ounces, and then let's say I'm a gardener, I'm a farmer, and I've got it.
Then you have to, it takes more time. It simply takes more
stir
time.
it longer. Okay, like a huge, 1,000-gallon tank or something.
When I go into my bath, it takes 2 minutes.
Okay, so stir it longer for a larger quantity.
That's it.
Okay, and we're just going to reiterate, for your bath, because I take baths now, I've become a believer, that it will restructure the water, but it won't filter the water.
No, the chemicals are still in it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, curious, how do you filter your water?
Well, we are in a lucky position that in Western Europe we have very, very good water. No chloride in it, nothing.
No fluoride either?
No.
Wow, lucky. Yep.
Yes.
And then people also have to consider all the medications, everything that comes out of your bodies, and we're flushing down the toilet. Your neighbor might be on Prozac, and the filtration system. Yeah, the filtration system might not have the ability to filter some of these man-made things. That it's just. I mean, think of all the thousands of toxins out there. Not to mention all the pesticides, like you said, that come down in the rainwater. And the whole cycle of life, and the soil, and the plant, and the animal eats the plant, and then we eat the animal, or whatever. Even if you're vegetarian, you're eating all this stuff that you don't know if you're filtering, because the filter, your Brita, or God forbid, the municipal water supply isn't necessarily filtering it for you.
True. So filtering is absolutely, in a lot of countries, very important. But even if you have good water, like we have in Western Europe in some places, we still see that even that water cannot absorb the right subtle energy anymore. So even there we use the wand.
And that's where you use the wand, and then it retains it.
And that has to do with all the man-made electrical energies around us, like the mobile phone, etc., etc.
It's completely just deregulated the whole thing.
Completely.
Unbelievable. Wow. Okay. So, is there anything else we should know about the wand, based on feedback you're getting from people?
It's interesting to know that we have an international website whereby we put in all the research nowadays, and that is the AnalemmaWater.com. And you probably also have a website whereby you can make a connection to. And what we do on our website is that we constantly put in all the latest research that is done all over the world.
It's a beautiful website, everybody. So again, I'm holding it up for anyone watching on YouTube. This is how it comes to you. And like Dolf mentioned, this will all be in the show notes, the Analemma Water. It's actually analemma-water.com. It's ANALEMMA-WATER.com. You can find them on YouTube too. This is on YouTube. And if you want to purchase your own wand, which we highly recommend, you can get it there. You can also get it on my website. I only put products I believe 100% used personally on mine. I couldn't get this on my website fast enough in my eStore to share with people. And you can even save 10%. You use the Amy coupon. It's on my website. Thank you for providing that, by the way.
Good, Amy. And maybe good to know what analemma means.
I was just going to ask you that before you leave. Oh my God, you see, we're coherent. We're coherent, Dolf.
You use the wand.
That's right. I love it.
Analemma is the cycle of the sun during the year. We have the December month when it is very dark, and you have the end of June when it is a lot of light. It's a cycle, and that cycle is called the analemma. So it has to do, the water receives the light from outside, and it receives it, absorbs it, and it brings it back to you. That's what it does.
And what he did, for those who aren't watching, he drew with his finger the infinity sign when he said the cycle. Like you visualize the sideways number 8, which is the number for manifestation, and the infinity sign, which is just that. It's infinity. There's no end, there's no beginning. So that's the name, Analemma. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Because it is a bit of a tongue twister. But I'm glad there's a reason. I knew there would be. And isn't it doesn't it mean support in Greek or something?
I don't know. But anyway, we looked at a lot of names, and we said, well, this is what it does. It is in connection with the light. So we said, then this is the name.
Yes. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. I absolutely love it. Dolf, is there anything else that's on your heart to share? We didn't even get into data mining and your experience with AI, and oh my Lord, gonna have to come back, please. But as far as your beautiful water and your research, anything else you want to share?
Well, the only thing for now, Amy, because I love the discussion with you, but it's good to know that we can bring back a part of the elements, the beautiful elements we live in, in an harmonic state. And I think that is of great value.
Good Lord, your work has had such importance for all of life, if not just humanity, everything. I'm so grateful for the work that you and Eric and your team do. And the best part is you guys are creating a solution. You guys are creating a real, tangible, affordable, usable, practical, easy. You don't have to do anything, guys. All you have to do is get this and stir it in your water and drink it, and then watch your health, your mind, your body, your spirit change and help be part of the solution for all of the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy.
This has been tremendous. Okay, so everybody, show notes, check out the website. I'll have my link there to save a little bit on the wand. Tell your friends. Let's all be part of the solution. Thank you, Dolf.
You're welcome.
Okay, see you next time, everybody. Would you like to support my mission to help empower people all over the world to be all of who they truly are? If so, please subscribe to the show, leave a review on iTunes, and share it with a friend. And if you're looking to take immediate action to align your energy and optimize your health, visit amyfournier.com. Thanks for listening to Awakening Aphrodite. Let's awaken her together in you. I'm your hostess, Amy Fournier, and I already can't wait to be with you again and for you to hear what I have planned for the next show.
Thanks for listening to Awakening Aphrodite with Amy Fournier. To learn more about Amy, check out her website, amyfournier.com. That's amyfournier.com. You can also check out Amy's live and on-demand virtual fitness and yoga classes, and sign up for her newsletter to receive a free mini ebook of 3 of her top tips for making holistic health a lifestyle. Again, that's amyfournier.com, and get your ebook sent to your email immediately. Connect with Amy on the daily on Instagram at FitAmyTV, FITAMYTV, and watch many of the podcast episodes and subtopic clips on her YouTube channel, which is also FitAmyTV. Enjoy, and we'll see you next time on Awakening Aphrodite.